But all of a sudden you'll rise up and you'll say to yourself, boy, I just want to get out there and take on the world. You'll love to get up in the morning. That's, I used to, when I was into my addiction to drugs and alcohol and food, whatever, I just slept all day. Now I love getting up in the morning. I feel sorry for people who are just sitting there sleeping all day. They're missing the best part of the day, getting out there, in the beauty of the day, nature. That's my food, right? Spiritual food. We talk about the food all the time. So people say, when I was on diets, I had these little morsels of food. I was miserable all the time, and I was trying to control it. A diet is controlling. It's not doing step one. Step one says we're powerless. But when we do all these things like diets, we're trying to resist it and control it. I was miserable every day. I did lose the weight. But like I said, after I lost all the weight, I said, okay, that's nice. Not the whole world isn't at my feet saying how great you are just because you lost the weight. Some people may say it was okay. So then I started to realize, well, maybe I'll go back to my addiction. But now I have a better way. The perception changed, right? It's the joy and the happiness and the nourishment that comes from God's world, where I don't want to make food my higher power. Do I want to make the corporations who are making all these designer drugs in the food, 50 ingredients, all poison? They sit down and they always are psychologists and the scientists trying to figure out, they call it the Bliss Point. I have an article here called the Bliss Point. They try to figure out how to get you addicted. And also those foods, again, are three times the calories of normal foods. Again, if you want to know my diet, it's one ingredient. If you want to know my diet, I was saying the other day, I have 12 points to my diet, and they're called the steps. A lot of people here are going to say, what are the steps? How does that relate to my food? These steps relate to the food, but all the problems in your life. It says here, Bill said the answer to all his problems. It's a perception change, making it about look, God, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Some people at the meeting here knew, and they're trying to figure out, what is this God thing, As long as it's not me, but we were created that way. Again, if you get out of your thinking right now, get centered, and all of a sudden you'll feel the joy and happiness come out. We use the 7 deadly sins. Right? Gluttony is one of them, but pride, envy, jealousy, all related to the selfishness, self-centeredness. What is page 62 tells us what the problem is, right? If you go to page 62, it says, here's the whole problem. And knowing the problem is the whole key to this program. Because if you know what the problem is, then you can resolve it. Before, I thought, what did I think the problem was? Everything and everybody outside of me. They were the problem, right? So how could I resolve it? I didn't know, so now that I know where the problem is, again, I say if I have a problem today, I'm the problem. But it says, selfishness, self-centeredness on page 62, we think is the root of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. Self-pity, right? When we talk about our problems, it's self-pity. Look what the world did to me. Look what they did. And we always say the other person is. Ever hear that? People go around saying that person's toxic. I didn't realize my whole life. I thought that all the people were toxic. I was a common denominator, meaning every time I went around, and I always judged people and try to put boundaries up. And I realized, even though they didn't act 100% correct, or maybe they were really bad, it was my perception reaction to them. So when you get this consciousness, you walk out of the house, you feel like you won the lottery. Again, if you won the lottery today and you met one of your enemies, you'd probably go up and hug them, right? You wouldn't have that fear. But if you realize we have this partner in our life, this higher spirituality, God, as we understand him, right? Some deity up there. And the more faith, the more the fear goes away and the more centered we are. It's all in here. There is nothing that you need to learn that you don't already know. Nobody can tell you anything. That's why it says in step, we can intuitively know. But one of the most important things it says in the next paragraph, so the troubles we think are basically of our own making, they arise out of ourselves, and the alcohol is an extreme example of self-will one right. It's called the ego. Look, the ego will set you wrong all the time. Listen to the ego, right? And also, look, I'll tell you this right now. If you're fearful right now, who are you thinking about? It's called taking your self-will back. During the day, as soon as I get upset or fearful, I say I'm back into the self. But through this program, the steps have a better way. And I just realized, again, those thoughts come. We try to a lot of times resist them and say, I shouldn't be fearful, I shouldn't be angry, I shouldn't. No, we accept them. We become friends with our feelings and we laugh at them. I'll say, look, I'm becoming fearful now and becoming resentful. But I know the truth from the false now, and 50% will go away. And the more I work the spiritual muscle, you go to the gym, you work the physical muscle. The more you do the spiritual thing, it just intuitively, it'll come to you. It says in the 10-step promises, it'll come. You don't have to swear it off. You stop fighting people and situations in your life.